Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to be looking at the weekly metagame breakdown for the historic best of one format. This will be our first deep dive into the best of one format since the release of duskmourn. So we will take a look at the popularity of decks and then individual deck lists that are putting up high win rates. I'll timestamp and paste all these deck lists in the video description if you want to copy paste. As always, we got the data from UntapedGG, what you see on the screen. Companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client, aggregates user win rates, gives a whole bunch of cool stats. If you want to use Untapped to track your own win rates, look at some stats. Link is in the video description down below as well. I'm almost over COVID, so you might still hear a weirdness in my voice. I'm still congested, so please bear with me as we try to get through this video. I'm trying to shake this thing, but it will not go away fully. So let's jump into it. Popularity of the day, Wizards is about 9% that we see on the right hand side of the screen here. We have the Woodlands deck, which is about 6.5. Rakdos aggro, so Leyline decks are getting popular in Historic as well. We can take a look at those. We are looking Platinum to Mythic, so you're going to see a higher density of these like Lifegain style decks. Auras is a very strong deck. We played this during the metagame challenge. We went 5 wins, losing a close one in 3 to the mirror. Boros Energy, then we have like Mono Green Elves, which is like a staple to Platinum ranks, and then Abzan Life Drain, which is like the Scurry Oak combo. So folks, you'll see it before we jump in. We're trying to hit 15,000 subs on the channel. We are closing in. We are almost 400 away. If you do enjoy this type of content, do subscribe. It's free, easy, helps out the channel. And if you have subscribed, thank you in advance. If you can, likes and comments also help go a long way. So we're going to look at about for the last week, 41,000 games played at this rank. The highest win rate deck is Boros Auras, 78%, 40 games played. So Auras has been a thing in Historic for a while. What really kind of brought this deck back was the addition of 2 new cards from Duskmourn. Sheltered by Ghost. This card is nutty. 2 mana. You enchant your creature. It's removal spell. You exile any, basically Oblivion Ring, but that's stapled onto creature. So it's removal that you can tutor with like Light Paws, which is sweet. But then it's also gives your creature a boost in terms of power, gives them lifelink and ward, which is just nuts. Like you just really tax the hell out of your opponent. Then you have Shardmage's Rescue. So this is a protection effect. We've played like shitty 1 mana instants that protect our creatures in the past, but this is an aura, so you can tutor it. It can be trigger any sort of enchantress abilities. It plays nicely with ethereal armor and gives it hexproof for the turn plus a boost. The rest of the deck, you have Esper Sentinel to tax your opponent, Giver of Ruins for protection. So this version's opting to do a 3-1 split of Giver with 1 Fragment reality. Most of the lists will play 4 Giver of Ruins and no Fragment, so up to you if you want to do that. Light Paws, you basically searches up auras. Core Spirit Dancer gets really big, draws you cards. Demonic Ruckus can be set aside on turn 1 and then kind of updated afterwards as well. Then we have Grifspoon, Hammerhand, just utility kind of effects that are mixed into here as well. And then Amped Raptor helps you kind of cascade and rebuild your board as you kind of go through. The mana base is a little odd on this one here. I will post a better mana base. So it's pretty much this deck. I'm going to post the version that I used. It'll have a sideboard as well, so if you want to play it in best of 3, but just the mana base is much cleaner on mine than this one here. This should be on the full Battlefield Forge. I don't think it was playing, it might have not been playing the full set of pathways, but it was basically just set up, there's like 1 or 2 basics. You want to basically have access to as many dual lands as possible. Then go to 4-color Sacrifice at 70, just a shade under 77%. So this is an Etherex deck. Just a lot of 2 mana spells, but how it works is you have a combo here. Samwise Gamgee, Cauldron Familiar, and a Sack Outlet, which would be Bartholomew. Lets you basically create an infinite loop. You keep sacking Cat, bring it back, and then you loop them out and drain them that way. You have Bombardment, that can be another sack outlet for the combo as well. Birthing Ritual lets you sack creatures to then find other creatures at your end step. So this will help you dig into the combo. You have like the energy package of a Johnny, Amped Raptor with the Goblin Bombardment that works out nicely. Juggernaut Peddler's Thoughtseize, Witness, and Trap Finder also help you dig to find combo pieces in the deck. And as always, Luris Companion. From one sack to another, so this one's Mardu Sacrifice, 75%. So similar concept, but more like aristocracy theme, gain and drain. So you have the elements like we mentioned, the Bombardment, Ajani, Amptraptor, but you have Marionette Apprentice, which is kind of acting like that Blood Artist style effect that we've seen in the past. Thulian Nightmare lets you rebuy and recycle stuff. Claim lets you steal your opponent's stuff. You have Guide of Souls that gets you energy, gives you life, plays nicely with the deck. Unlucky Witness and Trap Finder both are card advantage engines. Rite of Oblivion's removal, Thraben Charm, really flexible removal, Destroyed Enchantment, or Graveyard Hate. Hand Hate, Surgical for combo pieces, just the various removal spells kind of mixed into there. So this next one, for whatever reason, it's not letting me open up full screen for this particular deck, as well as mono green. It just hates green decks, or green decks at heart, big ramp decks. So we have Golgari Eldrazi. I will preface this deck probably goes over the top of most of the mid-range decks, and it has some tools with a Karn Wishboard to kind of tax some of the combo decks. I do think it might struggle against things like Auras and the super, super aggressive decks, but it is basically as close as we are going to get to mono green Tron in the format. Urza's Construction Drone gets you the various Karn lands, so the Urza lands. That gets you a bunch of mana. We have in the mana base things like Ugin's Labyrinth that can generate extra mana. Ulamogs, Ugin's on the top end, World Breaker, Null Drifter, Devour sets up your hand, Forsaken Monument doubles up your mana. Sowing Mycos Spawn helps you ramp, helps you find key lands, stuff like that. Incubator reduces costs. Thief of Existence is some removal effects. Dismember in here. Kozilek's Command can technically be removal as well. Chalice to lock out your opponent. With the Karn board, you have access to Crypt for Graveyard Hate. Chalice, again, you put it on 1 or 2, really messes with a lot of the Luris decks. Liquid Metal Coating blows up lands. Forsaken Monument, another tutor effect to double your mana. Treasure Vault as a land that you can tutor for. Graveyard Hate and Hearse. And then 1 ring for card advantage. Moving on, we go to the Woodlands Combo, 73%. So this deck here is looking to loot or self-mill copies of things like Omniscience, Ulamogs, Godpharaoh's Gift. Then you have Shifting Woodlands become a copy, ideally, of either Omniscience or Godpharaoh's Gift. The Godpharaoh's Gift will create a copy of Ulamog, that's a 4/4. It sees the exile copy of Ulamog, so it gets 10 counters, so you have a 14/14. And then it forces your opponent to have Annihilator 10, so it basically wipes out their board. Brotherhood's End, Vampire Vengeance keeps you alive early. You can also like just cast attracts and stuff off Omniscience. Malavin Rumble, Wayfinder, Cash Grab, Fire, Looting. These are all ways to kind of put cards into your graveyard. Traverse can also help you tutor up the Shifting Woodlands as well. We then go to Abzan, Scurry Oak, Amalia, combo-s combos. So this is how many combo pieces can we shove in a deck? Sorry, I gotta drink every so often. My voice kind of gets a little strained. Notably, we have don't craft the Mythic Rare Soul Warden. If it defaults to this when you import, just choose the uncommon one, unless you really want to spend a Mythic on this art. Guide of Souls, Soul Warden as your 1-drop. So you have a couple combos here. You have Amalia, Wild Growth Walker to wipe up the board, get like a huge amount of life, and then kind of set up the top of your deck through the Explore triggers, and then just a big Amalia. You have the Scurry Oak combo, so Heliod plus something that gains life, and then either Basking Brood-Scale, Scurry Oak, or Rosy Cotton will just generate a whole bunch of life. So with Rosy Cotton, whenever you create a token, you put a 1/1 counter on target creature you control. This is another way to kind of get that. So this will replicate the kind of Scurry Oak effect. And then you just kind of go off in that sense. So this would put a counter on things like Brood-Scale or Scurry Oak. And then you just need some sort of life gain trigger. So with the Heliod, so just more ways to kind of enable the combo there. And then Collector Company finds you this stuff. So that's kind of it. There's a lot of clicking with this deck. You're going to have to just go through the motion. So keep that in mind if you're considering crafting something like this. 4-color Realm Reanimator. This is the Persist combo. So you can win, I believe, on turn 2 with this deck. So how it works, bunch of looting effects, gambles, stuff like that. Phyrexian Scrapyard throws cards into your graveyard. Ideally, if you can, you put like Scholar of the Lost Troves and Emergent Ultimatum in your graveyard, or like Breach. Basically, Scholar plus a big effect. And then turn 2, you cast Persist, reanimate the Scholar, and then just go to town. Mind's Desire builds you up storm counts. If you could get like Omniscience out from like Breach or Ultimatum, you kind of go off. Then Grape Shot pings your opponent to death. Moving on. So there's a few versions of mono green that we could see. They're about like mid 60s. I think this one's the most composed, to be honest, just in terms of like sideboard and stuff like that. The Yorvo's not something you see too often. You're probably better off just playing Old Growth Troll in that place. It's a little bit more sticky of a threat. The trample could be relevant against a bunch of the tokens. But this deck's basically just using Nykthos to generate huge amounts of mana. Tap and tap with Kiora. None of these... Oh, there's Storm the Festival. I'm like, where's Storm the Festival here? Storm the Festival on the top end. You have some Ugins in this version. This one is just a little bit lower. Again, you could probably forego the Ugin. It's not a card you'll see too often in these decks. You'll sometimes see one of Emrakul, the Promised End, but what I'll probably do with this one here, I'm going to cut the 2 Ugins and then play the Yorvo and play 3 Old Growth Trolls. That's a better configuration. Cavalier finds you the lands, and then you draw cards off Outcaster and Kiora that just through all the mana kind of storm off that way. Karn lets you find things like Chroma's Memorial. If you can build up a big enough board, you get haste that turn. Lock people out of winning the game with Platinum Angel. Activated abilities. Contagion Engine's very good against all these kind of go wide small creature decks. Portal Phyrexia goes over the top of like auras and stuff like that since you force them to sack. So stock Izzet Wizards has had like mid 60s, but I want to show another deck version of Wizards that was doing well over the weekend at the Metagame Challenge. So Italian streamer Bina, BYNA, was playing a Leyline version. They got 7 runs in the Metagame Challenge. So with Leyline, you're playing a little bit more pump spell version. So instead of the Soulscar Mage, you're playing Swiftspear here. And then just a bunch of ways to copy spells. Symmetry Sage gets Magecraft, so you get extra power that gets added. Rages, Turn Inside Out, Reckless Charge, all double up with the Leyline here, which is pretty sweet. So it's just a very aggressively slanted, double a bunch of spells, pound your opponent to death. Speaking of Leyline, so last deck, so there's a bunch of different versions of this Leyline deck. I'm going to be honest, a lot of these are oddly constructed. They're doing well, but like there's some questionable card choices and just selection. Like, why 2 Heartfire heroes? Why 3 Swiftspears in this version? Rush of Adrenaline, Smith Sprint. There's better cards than that. This one's just basically stock standard version with a Robber of the Rich in here. Again, just like one of creatures. Lightning Strike is not really playable in this type of shell. Rockface Village in a deck that only has 4 mice and then a bunch of instant spells, that means you can't cast those instant spells. So some poor kind of odd choices in a lot of this. So I was playing this deck a bit as well, mostly on my iPad while I've been recovering. So I've only got like 1 game in the books. So this is kind of the shell I was initially building off of. Might be close to what I'm doing. Let me see with this. This is kind of where I'm at. I will say I found the Fling as a 4 of a little bit too much. I would probably play 1 more instant in here. Maybe something like Titan Strength could be reasonable. Infuriate. Even something that just cycles and draws a card could be reasonable. Just from there, but with the Leyline, I think you should be playing Reckless Charge. It's basically 2 spells here because you can flash it back. The deck doesn't have a lot of card advantage, so getting it back from the graveyard can be quite impactful. Turn Inside Out generates a huge amount of power. You have your Scamps, your Heartfire heroes. Ancestral Anger draws you a bunch of cards as well. So it's a nice one there. You could also play like Might of the Meek if you want. Just another way. It gives trample, gives some card draw, kind of mixed into there. The one card that I was trying out as well is Barbarian Ring. So this is one that with Thresholds, just it's playing the spot of Ramen Up Ruins. You're just likely not going to get to 5 mana too often, and this allows you, at least earlier, It does ping you, so it comes at a bit of a cost in the aggressive mirrors. But I thought it was reasonable. Pretty cheap to activate, and you're going to be putting a bunch of cards into your graveyard anyways. There's a little bit of a fight between Dreadhorde and the Ring, but I think if you're activating either, you're happy in terms of the position. You also have like some dens in here as well. So I'm going to share this version. Like I said, I would probably trim one of these if you want, and then play one more targeted spell that also incidentally draws a card. Play one of your choice in that respect. So for the week, let me know what you've been playing, what you've been enjoying, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.